Have you ever been so desperate to shed pounds that you'd consider nearly anything? Picture yourself in an era where society insisted women appear as fragile, ethereal, and flawless as humanly possible, all without today's medical knowledge or safe alternatives. For generations, women resorted to terrifying, potentially fatal measures simply to achieve the body shape the world deemed attractive. From consuming vinegar by the tumbler, ingesting lethal toxins, masticating each morsel countless times until it became pulp, and even purposely consuming parasitic worms, the extremes women endured for weight loss are truly astounding. We're about to journey through history's most bizarre, extreme, and hazardous weight loss methods that women once embraced. Some will make you shudder. Others will fill you with appreciation for living in an age of genuine nutritional science. Yet each one demonstrates the relentless pressure women have historically endured to meet unrealistic beauty ideals. During the early 1800s, a perilous weight loss fixation captivated European elite society, sparked by one influential figure, the renowned British poet Lord Byron. Byron was celebrated not just for his literary works, but for his narcissism and terror of weight gain. He created a regimen that women quickly embraced, despite being both unpleasant and harmful. Ladies began consuming tumblers of vinegar diluted with water each day, convinced it would cleanse their bodies and dissolve fat. Some consumed nothing but tiny bread pieces or plain crackers, while others lived on boiled potatoes drenched in vinegar. This regimen didn't merely make women slender, it rendered many of them ghostly pale, dizzy, and chronically unwell in appearance. Yet the madness continued. To perspire away additional weight, women draped themselves in multiple layers of heavy wool garments, regardless of temperature. Since the diet left them perpetually starved, some turned to cigar smoking for appetite suppression, an unusual practice for women of that period. The alarming aspect was how rapidly this trend swept through aristocratic circles. Women aspired to match the grace and thinness of the celebrated poet, and swooning from weakness was actually viewed as delicate and appealing. As the 19th century progressed, many women still craved quick weight loss solutions, leading to the emergence of diet medications and elixirs. These weren't benign nutritional supplements. Many contained arsenic and strychnine, deadly toxins that could prove fatal. Magazine advertisements guaranteed these pills would accelerate metabolism and eliminate fat effortlessly. Women feeling compelled to maintain their figures often exceeded recommended dosages, hoping for faster results. Tragically, many didn't recognize the danger until it was too late. Even more troubling was how these products were promoted as fashionable. Women were convinced that consuming them was refined and contemporary. Yet beneath the marketing veneer lay a grim reality. Innumerable women compromised their health, and some perished merely pursuing an unattainable standard. Picture yourself at a dining table, grinding a single bite of food 100 times before swallowing. This was reality for numerous women in the late 1800s, thanks to Horace Fletcher, dubbed the Great Masticator. Fletcher was convinced that thorough chewing held the key to an ideal physique. He instructed that women should pulverize every morsel until it became flavorless liquid, regardless of duration. This technique, termed Fletcherism, gained widespread popularity. For women already pressured to consume less, this approach became torturous. Meals stretched endlessly, and by the time food was consumed, it had become unappetizing and cold. Many women consumed far below their nutritional needs, becoming perilously thin and undernourished. Since Fletcher presented his theories as scientific, women followed them unquestioningly, believing that enduring this suffering was beauty's price. Before low-carb became a modern dietary buzzword, there was Banting. In the mid-1800s, William Banting released a booklet detailing his weight loss through eliminating bread, potatoes, sugar, and beer. The publication became a phenomenon, particularly among women who viewed it as a method to stay slim without starvation. However, the diet proved extremely limiting. Many women consumed virtually no carbohydrates, subsisting primarily on meat, eggs, and minimal fruit portions. The trend became so widespread that banting evolved into a verb. Women declining bread or desserts would declare, "No, thank you, I'm banting." The pressure to reject carbohydrates infiltrated social situations, and young women felt criticized for eating too much at public gatherings. During the 1830s, Minister Sylvester Graham believed rich, flavorful cuisine promoted sinful behavior. He argued that meats, butter, and spices aroused dangerous desires. Therefore, he urged women to consume only simple, tasteless foods. His disciples, known as Grahamites, shunned anything pleasurable to eat. Meals featured dry whole grain bread, plain fruits, and unseasoned vegetables. Meat and dairy products were completely forbidden. Women embraced this regimen, believing it would render them morally virtuous and physically pure. In reality, it left them thin, feeble, and constantly famished. Graham even created the famous Graham cracker as bland sustenance for his followers, though today's sweetened version would have appalled him. During the 1950s, when slender silhouettes represented the pinnacle of feminine attractiveness, women were urged to adopt various dubious practices for weight management. One particularly strange recommendation came from a popular newspaper article suggesting consuming sherry after each meal as an elegant weight control strategy. The reasoning seemed deceptively logical. Alcohol would supposedly diminish appetite and result in smaller servings. In reality, sherry contributed only empty calories with zero nutritional benefit. Many women, trusting this trend, began drinking beyond intended amounts, believing each sip brought them closer to elegance and a trimmer figure. Instead, this practice damaged their health and sometimes led to dependency. Despite its hazards, the sherry diet quickly became synonymous with sophistication. Holding fine wine at dinner tables appeared glamorous, a refined ritual during an era when women faced pressure to seem effortlessly elegant. Unfortunately, beneath this polished facade lay a regimen that merely harmed the body it promised to improve. Centuries before, in 1558, Venetian aristocrat Luigi Cornaro published among the earliest diet manuals, a work that would shape health trends for generations. Cornaro preached that longevity and a slender frame could be attained through rigid restraint. His program was remarkably austere: consume only minuscule food portions, sometimes merely one egg daily, while drinking substantial quantities of wine. Cornaro claimed to embody his method's success, boasting of restored energy and disease-free living. His philosophy particularly attracted women, often judged by their delicate appearance. The promise of eternal youth through such a straightforward formula proved irresistible. Yet reality proved far less appealing. Consuming more calories through wine than food resulted in malnutrition and weakness. Many women adopting Cornaro's approach became frail and sickly. Still, his promises kept the diet popular for decades. When medical knowledge was limited, Cornaro's book became a household staple across Europe, evidence that even centuries ago, beauty pursuits often compromised health. By the mid-20th century, pressure on women to stay thin reached disturbing heights, spawning one of history's most troubling weight loss crazes, the sleeping beauty diet. The concept was as alarming as it was straightforward. If unconscious eating became impossible, women desperate for weight loss began consuming powerful sedatives to remain asleep for days. Some entered private facilities where they were deliberately drugged into prolonged unconsciousness, awakening briefly before being sedated again. Others tried this at home, often without understanding proper dosage or safety, consuming dangerous medication amounts, hoping the scale would reward their sacrifice. While weight loss occurred, the cost was enormous. Extended immobility caused muscle deterioration and compromised immune systems, while the drugs themselves risked overdose and addiction. Yet for a period, the sleeping beauty diet was discussed in hushed, almost glamorous terms, as though endangering one's health was a minor sacrifice for achieving the era's coveted thinness. During the 1920s and 30s, as advertising became influential in shaping consumer habits, companies exploited the insecurities of women desperate to stay slim. Among the more peculiar products marketed was the so-called fat-dissolving soap. Advertisements claimed that simply scrubbing the body during warm baths could literally wash away excess fat. No dieting or exercise necessary. The concept was as attractive as it was ridiculous. Effortless weight loss represented the ultimate fantasy, and these soaps vanished from shelves despite lacking any scientific foundation. Many women, disappointed by failed diets or lacking time for exercise, hoped that daily bathing could transform their figures. Naturally, these products accomplished nothing beyond skin cleansing, but clever marketing and attractive packaging made them appear miraculous. If fat-dissolving soap seemed unlikely, the tapeworm diet of the Victorian period was genuinely horrifying. Women allegedly consumed pills containing microscopic tapeworm eggs, believing the parasites would develop, inhabit their intestines, and consume their food, maintaining slimness effortlessly. While some pills were complete frauds, others contained living organisms. The consequences were devastating. Once matured, the worms caused severe malnutrition, internal obstructions, and life-threatening infections. Yet the promise of effortless thinness proved so compelling that many women risked their health and lives. Even more shocking was the difficulty removing parasites once established. In an era with limited medical options, the cure could prove as dangerous as the infestation. The tapeworm diet remains among the most disturbing examples of beauty's extreme lengths, sacrificing well-being for the illusion of a smaller waist. During the 1920s, cigarette manufacturers launched disturbing advertising campaigns, encouraging women to smoke rather than eat. "Reach for a lucky instead of a sweet," proclaimed the slogan. Women began smoking to curb their appetites, believing it would maintain their slim, glamorous appearance. Sadly, many developed addictions and experienced severe health problems. The 1970s introduced perhaps history's most revolting diet. Dr. Robert Lynn marketed a beverage called Prolinn, created from processed slaughterhouse animal waste. Women were instructed to consume it daily for weight loss. Dozens died from cardiac arrest while following this regimen. Yet this didn't prevent others from purchasing it until authorities finally prohibited its sale. Reflecting on these practices, it's astounding how far women have ventured in beauty's name. From toxins to parasites, flavorless meals to starvation, these diets demonstrate how perilous society's thinness obsession has been throughout history. Which historical diet strikes you as the most terrible? Can you envision chewing each bite 100 times or consuming vinegar daily merely to appear thin? History demonstrates that beauty standards evolve, but our health remains too valuable to risk.